We're going to take this design and modify it a bit to be a template for Memorial Designer Online and StoneSpot Connect and those sort of things. The shape of the stone is actually 27 by 12, so I'm going to make it a common size 24 by 12. You can see it's changed my number here. If I actually want this to be 100%, I can just hit W. Oops, not there. Hit escape. I can select it and hit W, basically welding it to itself, and that resets this number to 100%. It just makes it easier in the future if I wanted to scale by a certain percentage to have it at 100%. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this design and break it apart so that we can get to the individual pieces. This outline I'm going to get rid of, and the inside outline I'm going to get rid of as well. I don't need to do it on both sides because I'm only going to work on the corner. So what I'll do is I'll hold Alt, drag a box like this and let go, and that's going to select everything here, and I'll just combine it together. Again, didn't select the pieces over here, but I don't need those because I'm only going to work on the one side. So I'll move this over till it gets to where I want it to be. All this stuff I can just delete. On my stone shape, so I can draw a line, I can use a rectangle, I can do stuff like that where I grab this and I'm just grabbing it up in the middle. So I can select this and then trim it. Now if I just took this piece and from the side dragged it over this way while holding Control and then right clicking, I would be able to make a copy on the other side. I could grab both of these, hit W to weld them together, and now I've got a new design. If I wanted to change this a little bit, I could delete those middle nodes, or delete all of these, and then this doesn't quite bend the exact same way. I can get it a little closer. If I hold Q on the keyboard, it lets me temporarily disable snapping if I have snapping turned on. So I'll just temporarily disable that. So this isn't too bad. However, I do think that this curves a little bit too much, so I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to take my rectangle tool and draw a rectangle about like that, shift select and center it so that it's centered, and then I'll shift select this and again trim it. Okay, so now that that's been trimmed, if I delete this segment and I delete this segment, that leaves me with this piece up here that I can use join curves on. I'm just going to make sure that my Bezier curve is selected. You can do different kinds and you'll see in the preview how it's going to try to join those. I want to do the Bezier so that it's actually a nice curve there. And the gap tolerance just needs to be big enough to cover that gap. If my gap tolerance was small, like an inch, then it's not going to work. So I need to make sure I'm, at least big enough to cover that gap. And then I'll just hit apply and that will draw it. And these other two nodes, I can select, because these ones are already joined, I can drag around all of them and it's only going to join the two that are open. So now I've got this that's curved a little nicer than what I think it was before. And then I'll run frosted outline on it to get myself an outline. With frosted outline, if all of this interior stuff is supposed to be black, the easiest way to do that is just hit Control K to break everything apart. And then holding Shift, I'll click on the things I want to keep. I don't remember, but I think this one was in the original, and I think this one was kept in the original. I think this one was. So holding Shift, I'm deselecting those. And then I'll just hit Delete, and that will get rid of all of those other pieces that I don't need anymore. Because it's broken apart, I'm left with these pieces. So because it's broken apart, I want to make sure I grab those pieces there and then recombine it with that outline, and that way it's going to show through to the polish. Last thing I'll do is these edges here. I want to bring this straight down, so there's a couple different ways I can do that. I could, if I just grab this and move it, that's one option. But if this node is beyond it and I start moving it, then it barely changes that curve, so I don't usually like to do that. The other option is to grab these, just drag a box like that, shift select, and then trim. I think that's probably the easiest. So I'll just trim that edge. Same thing on this end. Just shift select this and trim. Adding a keyboard shortcut to trim would probably be a good idea too. That way it's faster. But now I've got the design set for a smaller size. All this text doesn't look centered, so I'd grab it, shift select the stone, hit C to center, and then on banks here I'd probably make this a little larger. 1.5 is probably too big, so 1.25 inches. It looks like also the text itself is not centered, so I'm going to change this font to MD Roman and center justify, and then I'll center it. Seems like a lot of space between the letters, so I'm also going to delete that extra space that's been added in there. And I'll save it.